Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast. I'm your host, Louis Carlin, and we are part of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network, and you are listening to the Impact Wrestling edition of the Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast. Lots of things to talk about this week in Impact Wrestling. Of course, we had our regularly scheduled 2-hour show, which was pretty good this week. We'll go over that shortly, but we have a lot of news as well to go over in the world of Impact Wrestling. Just wanted to touch base on a number of things, but before I get started on that, I just want to give a shout out to my 1800th follower on Twitter. Yes, I've reached the 1800 plateau in my road to 2000, and I just want to give a warm, thankful shout out to The Talking Shite. That's at The Talking Shite on Twitter. So thank you very much, guys, for being number 1800. Really appreciate it. And next stop, 1900, and after that, 2000. I hit the 2000 plateau, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully I'll be there in the next month or two, hitting number 2000. But lots of things to talk about this week in Impact Wrestling. Lots of news. I want to go over a few things. Actually, the biggest news this week is we have a new team running the show at Impact Wrestling. The team of Don Callis and Scott D'Amore. They are the new executive vice presidents. They're going to be calling the shots with Ed Nordholm. I'm excited. I'm excited about this. Because you got two really good minds, two really good professional wrestling minds that are now calling the shots at Impact Wrestling. And of course, Don Callis and Scott D'Amore, they've known each other for 20 years, and really good friends. They both, like I said, have great minds for the business of professional wrestling. So it's a huge win there for Impact Wrestling. Really excited, really looking forward to seeing what they're going to bring. I know it's going to be very positive times right now at Impact Wrestling and hiring these two. And they were actually on Talk is Jericho. And I was listening. I didn't listen to the whole interview, but I was listening to, I got in about an hour or so of it and listened to the rest of it probably later tonight or tomorrow. But yeah, they have some really good ideas. And Don Callis saying, I think both of them were agreeing that the only reason why they wouldn't have done it with anybody else. You know, Don Callis said he wouldn't have done it with somebody besides Scott D'Amore, and I believe Scott D'Amore said the same thing. He wouldn't have done it with anybody. He wouldn't have signed, accepted this role with anybody else except Don Callis. So there's a good friendship there. Like I said earlier, they've known each other for 20 years. They're really good friends, and good things are on the way now with these guys, at Impact Wrestling. I always said you need to have professional wrestling people calling the shots. And yeah, they had Jeff Jarrett, but unfortunately it didn't work out with Jeff Jarrett. He's battling some demons, as we know. But hey, Don Callis, Scott D'Amore, great signings, great team to lead Impact Wrestling, and I can't say this enough. Really looking forward to seeing what they're going to be bringing to the table. I know they're looking for new talent now. They're looking to bring some more new fresh faces to Impact Wrestling. During the Talk is Jericho interview, Scott D'Amore was talking about how he brought in Samoa Joe, and how Samoa Joe was able to use the Impact platform to become almost a household name, basically, and become a big star. And now he's in the WWE, and he's one of the top players in WWE. So that was just one example. But they're looking for more wrestlers like that. To bring in some fresh faces that's going to create a buzz. So it's really good times right now for Impact Wrestling, and I think they're going to be very successful in these roles. And this was Ed Nordholm, good call. Actually, Chris Jericho actually played a part. Actually, listening to the podcast, Chris Jericho actually called up Anthem, of course, who owns Impact Wrestling, and recommended Don Callis and Scott D'Amore. So Chris Jericho, they got the vote of confidence from Chris Jericho, so they can't be half bad, I guess, if Chris Jericho would actually make a phone call and recommend these two to run the show at Impact Wrestling. Here's a little thought. I mean, I know Don Callis and Scott D'Amore are really good friends with Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho is no longer under contract with the WWE, and we all know he's going to be in New Japan taking on Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom. He's got the Chris Jericho Cruise is coming up, where Ring of Honor wrestlers are going to be on there. There's going to be a Ring of Honor tournament. He's a free agent, and he's good friends with Don Callis and Scott D'Amore. Could we be seeing Chris Jericho in Impact Wrestling? Never say never. It's highly unlikely, but never say never. Never say never. Whether it's as a wrestler or a advisor, some sort of role. Could we see him in Impact Wrestling in some capacity? Probably not, but never say never. Never say never. Yeah, who knows in the world of professional wrestling. And another thing that I'm excited about with Scott D'Amore is now that he's the executive vice president, and he's got a lot more power there now. He's got Border City Wrestling up in Windsor, Ontario. And it's a good promotion with lots of good young talent, such as Brent Banks, Tarek has been there, Casey Spinelli, to name a few. Some of these wrestlers we have seen on Impact Wrestling. They're not Brent Banks. We saw last week. He was on Explosion, taking on Eli Drake. I know Casey Spinelli was in the Knockouts title tournament. They're not signed with Impact Wrestling, but who knows? Maybe Scott D'Amore will bring them aboard, because especially Brent Banks and Casey Spinelli, two very, very good talents with Border City Wrestling, and we'd love to see them up. Love to see them up in Impact Wrestling. And back to Border City Wrestling, what I was originally alluding to is Border City Wrestling could become a developmental territory or developmental promotion for Impact Wrestling. It would make sense if they went ahead and did that. I mean, why not? I mean, they haven't had a developmental promotion. And I think Ohio Valley Wrestling was developmental for them back in the Dixie Carter era for a few months, but then they ended the relationship. But they need a developmental. They need to develop new stars. And Scott D'Amore, Border City Wrestling, that could be it. There's also Smash Wrestling would be interesting as well. Well, because a lot of the Border City Wrestling wrestlers also work for Smash Wrestling. I would say go ahead and do it, Scott D'Amore. Make Border City Wrestling the developmental promotion for Impact Wrestling. Develop new stars. Go ahead, man. You're calling the shots, man. No, not too many people can say no to you right now in Impact Wrestling. So let's do it, Scott D'Amore. But overall, yes, very excited about the new regime at Impact Wrestling. James Storm was interviewed, and he mentioned the reason why he left Impact Wrestling, and so we can squash all these ridiculous rumors that have been going around saying that he left because Impact Wrestling couldn't afford to pay him, that they didn't want to pay his contract, and blah, blah, blah. James Storm simply said he left Impact Wrestling because he has done everything he could do with the company. He's been with the company since 2002. It's 2017. He's been with the company for 15 years. It was simply time to move on for James Storm, as I mentioned last week, and that's it. So squash all the other rumors. It was just time for James Storm to move on, as he's done everything he could with Impact Wrestling. So there you have it. There you have it. Okay, what else we got going here? Oh yeah, yes, Impact Wrestling. I read this actually today. They've signed a wrestler. He's a Canadian independent star. His name is Tony Cage. So Tony Cage has signed with Impact Wrestling. If you weren't familiar with Tony Cage, he was trained by Lance Storm, tremendous indie star. He was rumored to sign with the WWE about a month or so ago, but he signed with Impact Wrestling. So Impact Wrestling lands a good young star in Tony Cage. So I'm wondering if the new regime had something to do with that. Look at Don Callis and Scott D'Amore had anything to do with that signing. I've seen a few Tony Cage matches, and he's very, very talented, extremely talented wrestler. I would say extremely, I won't say, extremely talented young wrestler, potential to be a superstar, and excellent signing for Impact Wrestling to bring in Tony Cage, bright young star. I just hope they don't treat him like they treated Marshe Rockett, and it takes 7 months for him to debut, and then they use him sparingly. Let's use him right off the bat. See what he could do. Get him into the X division right away, and let him do his thing. So Impact Wrestling signs Tony Cage in the Canadian independent wrestling star, and Laurel Van Ness, just want to address her leaving. So the rumor has it now with Laurel Van Ness is that she is going to drop the title at the, I just gave a spoiler away, and I apologize to everybody out there. But I just gave away a spoiler, and that's not my style on the show. I apologize. Yes, Laurel Van Ness is going to be the next Impact Knockouts champion. I'm sorry about that. I apologize, but kind of slipped. But anyway, but the rumor has it that she's going to drop the title at the next TV tapings, and we're going to talk about where the next TV tapings are going to be in a moment. But she'll drop the title, and she's going to be released from the company. That's the rumor right now. My feeling on that is, I really like Laurel Van Ness. She's very talented in her hot mess role that she's playing right now, the hot mess character. Very, very talented. She could do the hot mess character. She could just be Laurel Van Ness, not the hot mess character, and still be very talented. I've always been a fan of hers. But bottom line is, she's not irreplaceable talent. So if she's going to leave, good luck. I'm sure you'll find lots of work, but she's not irreplaceable. For one, Casey Spinelli, they could sign Casey Spinelli, could take her spot immediately. Kiera Hogan, another young up-and-coming woman wrestler who's actually signed with Impact Wrestling, who has yet to make her debut, could take her spot as well. So it's not irreplaceable talent. There is no talent out there that's irreplaceable. So she's going to leave. I'm sorry to hear that, and I wish her luck again, but she's not irreplaceable talent. I'm sure Don Callis and Scott D'Amore will find someone to take her spot in the company, talent-wise. Now, as I mentioned, TV tapings. Very surprising to read this, actually. The next TV tapings are going to be taking place in Orlando again. So they're going back to the Impact Zone in Orlando from January 10th to the 18th, 2018. Orlando, I'm not sure why, but anyway, back to Orlando for the next set of TV tapings. And then in March, they're going to be somewhere in Canada. Right now, the rumor is they're going to be back in Windsor, which would make sense because that's where Border City Wrestling is situated. So they'll be back in March. Hopefully, they'll be in Toronto. I would love for them to come to Toronto, but right now the rumor is they will be in Windsor. And there's a lot of tapings they're doing with other promotions. Like, for example, I know they're doing a TV taping with WrestlePro. I think it was EC3 taking on Alberto El Patron in the main event for a upcoming WrestlePro card, which Impact Wrestling is going to be doing some TV tapings, and they're going to be doing a joint TV taping apparently with Border City Wrestling. Not going to be it's not part of the March TV tapings from what I understand, but it's going to actually take place, I think, in Detroit. So it's going to be a joint TV taping with Border City Wrestling. That's upcoming as well. So lots of things going on for Impact Wrestling. And I'm also reading that they could be getting back into the live event scene. That they're hoping for a couple of non-televised events for 2018. So those are expected as well. So Don Callis and Scott D'Amore have their work cut out for them, but I think they're going to do just fine as new executive presidents for Impact Wrestling. So yeah, lots of things going on. Lots of things going on for Impact Wrestling. All right, so I think it's time that we get into the show. It's time we get into the show this week, and it was a pretty good show. Would I call it a great show? Maybe. It could have been a great show. It might have been a great show this week. Lots of really good matches, actually. Lots of really good matches. But the show actually started with Alberto El Patron, cutting a promo on Eli Drake. He called him a paper champion. He called him a perro, which I think means dog in Spanish. I'm not sure. Maybe I should have looked it up before I did the podcast. But hey, not that important. But he called him a perro. Let's look this up. Let's see what perro actually means. I think it means dog. In Spanish. Let's just take a quick look here online. And, yep, it means dog. Okay, so, no, it means pig. Perro means pig in Spanish. No, it means dog. Well, I have one Spanish to English translation says it means a pig, and there's another one right underneath it that says it's a dog. So either way, he's called Eli Drake either a pig or a dog. So either way, it's insulting. It's an insulting line. So he called him a perro, pig or dog. Maybe that pig will go to Slam Town. But anyway, no, let's not talk about Johnny Impact yet. He comes on later. But yeah, so it opened up with El Patron, again cutting the promo on Eli Drake, and then we went to our first match of the evening, which was Caleb Konley with Trevor Lee, the X Division champion, taking on Taiji Ishimori. Ishimori comes to the ring, and he has a he has a shirt for some strange reason. It reads Mothball. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a reference. If his nickname is Mothball. If it is, I don't really see the connection there. But he has a T-shirt that reads Mothball. So and I don't know. Well, and when you think about why would that be a nickname for anybody else? Mothball is what they do is they repel moths. So I don't know. Unless in Ishimori's secret little world, or all professional wrestlers are moths and he repels them for some reason. I don't know. But anyway, the shirt reads Mothball. Just like, you had El Hijo de Fantasma has a trunks that says something about chocolate latte or club chocolate. Not sure what that means either. But Ishimori has a shirt that reads Mothball. So I was like, okay, that's fine. If you want to go with that, let's go with that. And anyway, so but the match itself though was a solid match. Really good back and forth action. Great opening match. Caleb Konley proved something in this match that, I've been saying all along, about him in Impact Wrestling for the longest time. Caleb Konley is very, 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 very talented. His offensive skill set in this match was just terrific. Just terrific. So again, solid opening match between the two. Ishimori does win the match as expected. He wins with a 450 splash, defeats Caleb Konley, and of course Trevor Lee runs in, attacks Ishimori post-match. Caleb Konley joins in on the attack, and Desmond Xavier makes the save for Ishimori. Now you gotta think here. Ishimori is getting pushed for an X Division title shot against Trevor Lee, which is fine. It's going to be a tremendous match. But Ishimori actually lost the Super X Cup final to Desmond Xavier a few months back, and I know I pointed this out a number of times. I still don't know why Desmond Xavier is not in this spot that Ishimori is in right now. I think Desmond Xavier, because he defeated Ishimori in the Super X Cup, should be in this spot right now, not Ishimori. But, what can you do? Can't do anything. They've decided to go with Ishimori for some strange reason. Maybe Ishimori is only here for a limited time, and they want to get that feud in with Trevor Lee before he goes back to Pro Wrestling Noah. But not quite sure. But, I hope, Desmond Xavier coming out will eventually lead to Xavier getting his shot at the X Division title. Speaking of which, Trevor Lee, the X Division champion, I don't know what they're doing with the guy. He's got right now zero credibility, in my opinion, as the X Division champion. He's done really nothing. He's comes off as almost a joke, almost as a dopey joke, I guess you could say. And don't get me wrong, Trevor Lee is a absolutely phenomenal talent. An absolutely phenomenal talent, and I've said that many times. He can be their AJ Styles. He could be what AJ Styles was for TNA years ago. Trevor Lee could be for Impact Wrestling today. That's how talented he is, and everyone on the internet knows it. Everyone, kayfabe today, there were a few guys that I talked to, and they appreciate the talent of Trevor Lee. If you see Trevor Lee on an independent card that's not Impact Wrestling, a show that's not indie card, not Impact Wrestling, he puts on some tremendous matches. Very, very, very talented. Just can't say enough just how incredibly talented Trevor Lee is. And Impact Wrestling has him, and they're not using him properly. And please, this is what's going to happen, is his contract's going to come up, and he's going to go right to NXT, and he's going to become an absolute superstar there, and he'll be NXT champion within 6 months of him being there. That's what's going to happen. They need to use him properly. Trevor Lee should be a dominant X Division champion right now, instead of some sort of dopey schmuck who's the leader of the cult of Lee. Come on, let's get this guy. Let's use this guy correctly. Don Callis, Scott D'Amore, please. I hope those two see the talent that they have in Trevor Lee, see the talented wrestler that they have in Trevor Lee, and they start booking him and using him properly. And that's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I got to say about that. Because right now, like I said, he has zero credibility. He's basically a joke. And we're going to talk about another champion who comes across as a weak champion a little later on. So let's turn it up a notch for Trevor Lee. Please. But again, the opening match itself, Caleb Konley versus Taiji Ishimori, terrific match. Caleb Konley, I can see him as X Division champion without a doubt. Maybe one day. All right, so then from there we went to match two. Which was Sienna versus Allie versus Rosemary to determine who meets Laura Van Ness for the title. And I do apologize to everyone. I did give away the spoiler a little earlier about who wins the next knockout champion. I do apologize for that. But this match was a very good match. I liked Ali showing some intensity during the match. She wasn't the cute little bubbly Ali. She became an intense and rage Ali in this match, and I thought it came across really well. All three worked really hard, in my opinion, in this match, and Rosemary winds up hitting the Red Wedding on Ali to advance to take on Laurel Van Ness to see who will be the next Knockouts champion, which I think is happening next week. My opinion on this, they're calling it a tournament, but it's not really a tournament. It was just 2 matches that they're having. I feel that they're rushing it. They're rushing to put the belt on someone. I feel they're doing it a little too quickly. They could have played this out for a number of weeks, or they could have had what they could have done is they could have had, instead of that turkey trot fiasco that they had 2 weeks ago, maybe they could have had Impact Wrestling could have been dedicated to the women and have a one show tournament to determine the new Knockouts champion. Have a group of matches that will lead to you have the brackets, a group of matches lead to the final 2, and the winner becomes the Knockout champion. That would have been, I think, a better idea than rushing it here. So they're just rushing it to put on someone, the belt on someone. And as I stated earlier, and I'm sorry, but Laurel Van Ness does win the Knockouts title. I apologize for the spoiler earlier. Should be a very good match between Rosemary and Laurel Van Ness for the Knockouts title. I just feel that maybe they rushed it a little bit to put the title on someone. Well, they could have played it out. They could have had a they could have brought women in from all over the world, from Japan, or maybe talent from Canada. Well, talent from Canada probably would have been Casey Spinelli. They could have found a few. Kira Hogan could have been in the tournament to determine the new. They could have made it into a big thing, but I don't know. They just want to, I guess, just blow right through it and get that Knockouts title on somebody as quickly as possible. But anyway, so from there we went to OVE. Sami Callihan, they're in the ring, and Dave and Jake Christ, are in the ring. And they cut a promo, and it was weird. There was some guy there who looked like he was booing them or whatever, but he's this guy there wearing virtual goggles on his forehead, which was a little strange. Why go to a professional wrestling show with virtual goggles? Was he playing virtual games while the matches are going on? And it's just weird that he had the virtual goggles on his forehead and he looked like he was kind of booing them. But Sami Callihan was called the leader of OVE, and he cut a pretty heated promo, putting down Canada, LAX, and he got some major heat from the crowd. So he succeeded in getting the heat from the crowd, which was a good job. And I gotta say, OVE, or Dave and Jake Christ, they're much better as heels than they were as baby faces. And now when it's Ohio, when they say it's Ohio versus everything, that's the heel tag right there, that they're saying Ohio is better than everything, and they will fight anything that's not from Ohio. So that's what I've been saying on a number of occasions, that their name is like heel names, so not really good baby faces, but now it works well, and they're doing a great job. They're doing a great job as heels, and I find every promo now with them very, very entertaining. As before, I didn't really find them that entertaining, but now as heels, makes more sense. OVE makes more sense as heels, and I'm on the OVE bandwagon right now. But they're doing a terrific job. But as they were putting down Canada, as they put down Canada, a Canadian team based out of Montreal, I believe, called Tabernacle des Teams, or TDT, Mathew St. Jacques and Thomas Dubois. They came out to defend the honor of Canada, and they got a decent pop. They said a few things in French. I don't speak French, so I really don't know what they said, but obviously a lot of people in the crowd spoke French because they popped hard, whatever they said in French, and it led to a brawl, of course, between OVE and TDT. That would be an interesting feud, TDT versus OVE, the battle of the initials. But anyway, yeah. So they started the brawl. TDT did pretty well as they controlled the brawl. They dominated the brawl early on with OVE. Until Sami Callihan came in and turned the odds against them, and OVE kind of took out TDT, and they were going to they were going to hit one of their big moves on TDT, but LAX came out. They made the save. Now Conan had a kendo stick. This is where it got a little scary, and he went to use a kendo stick. Now, I'm not sure if the kendo stick broke or if it slipped out of his hands, but that kendo stick flew into the crowd and looked like it might have hit somebody. But I was reading online, the person that was hit was actually okay, thankfully. So nobody really got hurt there, but the kendo stick broke or slipped out of Conan's hand and into the crowd. Could have been a very bad situation, but thankfully nobody got hurt. But this whole segment was really good heated segment. It was a decent debut for Tabernacle des Teams, TDT. Why they debuted here is something that I might want to question. Sure, they coming out to defend Canada, but I don't know. Are they gonna have a match now with OVE? Are they gonna lead to a feud with OVE? I don't know if it made much sense, because right now the hottest feud right now in Impact Wrestling, in my opinion, my favorite feud right now is OVE against LAX. So that's the hottest feud. So not sure why TDT would have came out here. Again, I guess to defend the honor of Canada and to speak French and get a quick pop out of the crowd. I know a little bit about the team. I've seen a few matches with them, and they have great potential. They wrestled in Smash before. I know they wrestled in Oshawa before at a Oshawa, maybe not Oshawa, but I know they wrestled out of Montreal, and I think they I think they might have wrestled in a few matches in Atlantic Canada as well. But they're a team with decent potential, and I would have preferred just to see them have a debut against another team, and kind of like a introductory to them, a match introductory with them, and just show off what they can do against kind of like a squash. Kind of like a squash match, and just show what they're capable of. Because I have a feeling that we're not going to see them ever again in Impact Wrestling. Because the next tapings are down in Orlando, and them coming out to defend Canada's honor won't really work down in Orlando unless we see them again in the next coming weeks. Here while the tape, I'm not sure how much longer. Well, it's January 5th, so I guess we have a few weeks left of the Oshawa tapings. So maybe we'll see them again. I don't know. But I just not sure why they kind of debuted here. For me, maybe people disagree, but I just think it just didn't make sense for them to come out here in this segment. It should have just been OVE and LAX. TDT should maybe not have been involved. But anyway, but there are only two tag teams in Impact Wrestling right now, OVE and LAX. So maybe they just want to introduce a third tag team. So now there could be three tag teams in Impact Wrestling with TDT. So we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes with them. But like I said, Mathew St, Jacques and Thomas Dubois have very good potential. Could be a good signing if they do eventually sign them for Impact Wrestling. So then from there, we had KM, who is continuing to try and prove himself to American Top Team because for some strange reason he wants to join them. He wants to join the MMA team. So he goes to the gym. He goes to a gym and attacks everyone in it. There's a couple of people working out. I think one person on a rowing machine, another person lifting weights, another spotter, another person at a desk reading something. KM takes them all out, and in an attempt to prove himself to American Top Team. You know, if they're looking for talent, if they're looking for new talent in Impact Wrestling, someone that they can push, KM is the guy. KM is the guy, and he's getting a decent little push here. He could be a top heel. When I say decent push, you know, we're seeing him on TV and he's not being Sienna's lackey anymore. We're not only seeing him come into the ring with Sienna and tripping up, like Ali or something, or interfering, but we're seeing more decent segments, with KM. We're seeing his intensity, which is really good. Like I said, he could be a top heel in Impact Wrestling, given the right push. And hopefully this whole America Top Team thing is going to go away shortly, and we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. And KM could just come out and just be KM and be the top heel that he can be. So give him the opportunity. Give him the opportunity if they let him run with it. I'm sorry, let me start over, because I'm a little rushing because I'm getting so excited about KM. I'm getting so excited about KM. If they just give KM the opportunity, give him the ball, let him run. Give him the heel ball and let him run with it. He could be a major heel. He could be a top heel, in my opinion, in Impact Wrestling. Then from there we go to the clubhouse. LAX is in the clubhouse, and they're talking about OVE. Conan wants a one-on-one meeting with Callahan to set up a match. Conan had a few decent lines here as well. Conan is a terrific talker, but Conan wants a one-on-one meeting with Callahan to set up a match. I think this is where they're going to set up the barbed wire match. It's no secret that they have a barbed wire match coming up on Impact Wrestling, so that's not really a spoiler. It's been all over the internet. So they're going to set up that barbed wire match, which I hear is very, very brutal. Not sure who wins it, but I hear it's very, very brutal match. So I think that's going to be set up with that one-on-one meeting between Conan and Callahan. And I know Conan was saying that he wants Callahan to have a full body cavity check before the meeting to make sure he doesn't try to sneak in any weapons. And then he said something about that he's gonna stick Callahan's thumbs up his ass, which was a pretty good line there, because you know, OVE has a thumbs up, thumbs down thing. So Conan said he's going to take those thumbs and shove them up his ass, something to that effect. So Conan pumps out some great lines. Speaking of Conan, he's actually, and I should have done this with the news segment in the earlier on, but apparently he's no longer, he's parted ways with the Crash, which was interesting because I thought he owned Crash, but I guess he didn't. He didn't own Crash, but he's no longer associated with Crash Wrestling, or the Crash, I should call it. And I know Impact had a working agreement with the Crash, so I'm not sure if that's going to affect the working agreement or not. I don't know if it's going to affect Conan being in Impact Wrestling anymore, but nonetheless, Conan is no longer associated with the Crash. The reasons I'm not entirely sure why. One rumor I was reading, and it's just a rumor, that he's very difficult to deal with, you know, and I know that's been said a lot in the past. Whether it's true, I don't know. I was very surprised to hear that, because I thought he owned the Crash. I thought it was his promotion, but I guess I was wrong in that effect. But anyway, from there we had Eli Drake and Chris Adonis cut a promo on Johnny Impact and Petey Williams, because they have a tag team match that's coming up later on. That's the main event, actually, is Johnny Impact and Petey Williams taking on EC3 and Chris Adonis. Then from there we had the third match of the evening, which was, did I say EC3? Not EC3, Eli Drake. I think I said EC3 and Chris Adonis. Because I'm looking at my notes, because EC3's in the next match against Matt Sydal. But it's Eli Drake and Chris Adonis taking on, Johnny Impact and Petey Williams. But then we had match 3, which was, EC3, not Eli Drake, EC3 defending the grand title against Matt Sydal. Fallah Bahh actually was a guest judge. So Fallah Bahh came out, he was the third judge, he was the guest judge. I know EC3 had a match with Fallah Bahh, a few weeks back. So I guess Fallah Bahh was coming out, I don't know, it seemed like he was coming out to get a little bit of maybe some revenge on EC3. But Matt Sydal came out first. He shook everybody's hand. He shook Fallah Bahh's hand, and they looked like they were buddies, right? Fallah Bahh stood up and they shook hands, and no, I'm sorry, he didn't stand up. He stood up for EC3. But yeah, they shook hands. Matt Sydal looked buddy with Fallah Bahh. And EC3 came out, and he wouldn't shake any of the judges' hands. And then Fallah Bahh stood up, and EC3 just shook his head, and said, "Nope, I'm not gonna shake your hand, Fallah Bahh." So Fallah Bahh sat down, and they were kind of alluding to that. Hey, Fallah Bahh might be a little biased and vote for Matt Sydal in the match. So that's what they were kind of alluding to. That kind of, give the edge there to Matt Sydal. And so the match started, and we went through our 3 rounds, which is grand title rules. You have the 3-minute rounds, the judges score. Now, I'm not shy in my opinion on saying that I hate the grand title rules. I hate the rounds. I hate the point system. I wish they would just do away with it, because to me it doesn't work at all. And I say about 98% of every grand title match, somebody wins round 1, another wrestler wins round 2, and then it comes down to round 3. And this match, round 1 went to EC3, round 2 went to Matt Sydal, and it came down to round 3. And came down to round 3. And before I say what the results were for round 3, I just want to say, even though I'm not a fan of Impact, the grand title and the grand title rules. I shouldn't say I'm not a fan of the grand title. The grand title is fine. I'm just not a fan of the rules for the match, for the grand title matches. I just want to say that this grand title match was actually probably the best grand title match that I've ever seen. It was really, really good, especially round 3. Round 3 had to be the best round in the history of grand title matches since they began back when Billy Corgan was with Dixie Carter calling the shots. But fantastic round, great back and forth action between the two, and definitely my favorite grand title match was definitely this one here, EC3 and Matt Sydal. But we had round 3, and the first 2 judges were split. One judge voted for EC3, one judge voted for Matt Sydal, and it came down, what a surprise here, it came down to the guest judge, Fallah Bahh. And one would think that Fallah Bahh is gonna give it to his quote-unquote little buddy, Matt Sydal, but no, he voted it 10-10, so it was a draw. So the match ended up a tie, and EC3 retains the Impact Grand title, remains champion. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to lead to anything between Sydal and maybe Fallah Bahh. You would have to think is, why would Fallah Bahh? Is there a reason why Fallah Bahh scored a 10-10? Does he not want Matt Sydal to win the championship because he wasn't able to do it? I wouldn't be surprised if this is not the end, that Matt Sydal might question Fallah Bahh next week, which could lead to a match between Sydal and Fallah Bahh, which would be tremendous, by the way. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes, if it goes anywhere. It might just have ended there, and that would have been the end. That's the end of it. But it was just interesting, why Fallah Bahh was the guest judge and why he scored a 10-10. But if they're going to end this round and point system for the grand title matches, this would be the perfect match to end it, because they would go out on a high note, because this was a terrific match. And just please, go defend the grand title in a traditional match. Because with these grand matches, the title matches, matches can never really get going, because once it starts getting good, the round ends. And then they have to go to their corners and wait for the judges to determine, the result of the round. And then round 2 starts, and they get going, and they have to stop again because the round is over. And so they should just squash it. And a lot of people agree with me on that. They should just squash these rules, make it a traditional match. Here's an idea. And I don't think any promotion has ever done this. I could be wrong. I think about it, but I don't think any promotion has done this. Impact Wrestling, now that they're Canadian based, why not make the grand title the Impact Canadian title? That's an idea. That's an idea that I was thinking about. Make the grand title, squash the grand title and the grand title rules and the rounds and the point system, and make the grand title the Impact Wrestling Canadian title. Now, of course, anyone could win the title. But they don't have to necessarily be Canadian, of course. But that's an idea. Since they're Canadian based, and there's going to be a lot of shows taking place in Canada, a lot of tapings in Canada, why not do something a little different? Make the grand title the Impact Canadian title. Just an idea I thought I'd I bring to the forefront here on the Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast. So yeah, just an idea I had. Something to think about. I'll give Don Callis a call later, and I'll mention it to him. Okay. Anyway. So I just want to bring that up. Then we went to the Vault. We went to the Global Wrestling Network Vault, and they showed a old match between James Storm and Bobby Roode. A decent match. I'm really not going to get much into that. And then from there we had another Park and Park commercial with Joseph Park and his cousin Chandler Park, who was played by none other by Ethan Page. Great stuff again. These commercials are really cheesy commercials, but they're entertaining as hell. They're entertaining as hell to watch. And there's a number. They actually flash a number. 615-492-4883. So what I've done is I actually call that number, and it actually goes to voicemail, and Joseph Park leaves a voicemail message, leaves a kind of a humorous message for anyone who needs their help to leave a message, and he would call them back. I didn't leave a message or anything, but I was just curious. But it was interesting how you call that number and you get connected to Park voicemail. So that's they're really going all out with that. It's not just a disconnected number. It's a number that will actually give you the voicemail of Park. But again, Ethan Page doing a terrific job here. And the only thing is, I don't know where this is leading to. Are they just going to do commercials? A few more commercials and that's it? Is it leading to anything? Is it leading to a feud? I don't know where they're going with it. I don't know if it's going to lead to anything, or if they're just trying to get some comedy filler in there. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if Chandler Park gonna turn on Joseph Park soon. Are we gonna get Ethan Page against Abyss soon? I don't know. I don't know where it's going, but anyway, wherever it's going, that's fine. not important right now. What's important is they're very, very entertaining, and I look forward to more Park commercials. Then from there, we had match 4, which was Bobby Lashley and Dan Lambert taking on Moose and James Storm. Dan Lambert, made the match last week. He said he is the secret weapon that's going to team with Bobby Lashley, and supposedly that this match is supposed to put an end to the feud, which I'm all for, because this feud has actually run its course. As my throat is about to run its course. Give me 1 second, my friends. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to take a drink of water here. Okay. That's pretty good water. I'm actually drinking Great Value water, which I got from Freshco. No, actually, I got it from Walmart. Walmart sells Great Value water, and it's really good water. Cheap little plug there. Great cheap little plug there on the Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast. Go out and get yourself some Great Value water. It's great. Okay. Back to Impact Wrestling. So we had Bobby Lashley. The hell am I doing? Plugging Great Value water. Anyway, but yeah, that's something Myron would do. But anyway, no, I'm sorry. I don't want to start anything with Myron's got his hands full with Jumpin' Jim on the Pro Wrestling Stop and Go. So I apologize, Myron. I don't want to start a feud with you. I know you got a feud going with Jumpin' Jim McDougal. I don't want to start a feud with you. I love you, Myron. You're awesome. Actually, speaking of Myron, I just want a quick plug here. If you haven't listened to the weekly news show on the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network, you gotta listen to it. Myron and Nick are a phenomenal team, and they just absolutely knock it out of the park every single time. Great team there. Myron and Nick on the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network, the weekly show. You gotta tune in and listen to them. They're absolutely fantastic. Okay, but back to Lashley and Lambert against Moose and James Storm. Lambert called himself the secret weapon, made the match last week, as I stated, and he said that this is going to end the feud once and for all. As I stated, and I'm 100% was for that. I think this feud has run its course. I think Bobby Lashley needs to get away from American Top Team and go back to being the Destroyer Bobby Lashley. He was cutting some really good promos. He was just running over the competition. Now he just seems to be, in the background, and Dan Lambert's cutting the promos, and Bobby Lashley almost seems like he's Dan Lambert's little lackey. So I'm hoping he would get away from that. And I think there's a little indication in this match, that might be happening. The match itself was okay. You had, Lambert would be in the ring sporadically, but he would avoid Storm and Moose, run from them all scared, and avoid them like the plague, which was a little confusing, because why put yourself into this match only to avoid Storm and Moose when you think you're superior to them? I mean, I could understand if he was put in the match by one of the GMs, he was forced to be in the match, and he would avoid them. But he says he's a secret weapon. He put himself in the match, but he shows himself running around like a little chicken shit, instead of being the secret weapon that he said he was last week. But anyway, I just was thinking about that. But I guess he doesn't really have professional wrestling skills, so it kind of made sense, I guess. He's not really going to mix it up too much. So the match was okay, nothing special. Bobby Lashley was about to spear James Storm. Lambert tags himself in, and after Lashley spears Storm, Lambert hops on to hops onto Storm and pins him 1, 2, 3. The team of Lashley and Dan Lambert win, but Lashley looked a little bit upset, and Josh Matthews actually pointed it out as well. Lashley looked a little upset that Lambert kind of jumped in and quote-unquote stole the spotlight from Lashley. And hopefully that means he's going to be leaving soon. And like I said, go back to being the Bobby Lashley, the Destroyer, where he just ran right over everybody, and basically was by himself. Didn't need any friends, and that's the Bobby Lashley I want back, and that's the Bobby Lashley that Impact Wrestling needs back as well. Again, this American Top Team thing has run its course. Enough's enough. Let's move on. Thank you, Dan Lambert, for your contributions to Impact Wrestling, but I don't think we need you anymore. So you can take your American Top Team, go back to wherever you came from, and Bobby Lashley could stick around and be the Destroyer once again. And that's all I got to say about that. After that, we had Johnny Impact and Petey Williams cutting a promo. A little confused this week because Johnny Impact didn't want to take anybody to Slamtown. Didn't want to take anybody to Slamtown this week. Last week, El Patron, he said he was going to take El Patron to Slamtown. But this week it seemed that Eli Drake and Chris Adonis did not have an invitation to go to Slamtown, which was I was a little disappointed. I've come to a point where every week I'm looking forward to Johnny Impact, saying the line, "I'm going to take you to Slamtown." But this week he didn't say it. He didn't say the Slamtown line, and I was a little disappointed. But I guess because Eli Drake has the Gravy Train. So I guess maybe the Gravy Train, had other plans and it didn't want to go to Slamtown, and it had its travel routed elsewhere, and had no intention of going to Slamtown this week. So maybe that's why. Maybe Johnny Impact. Maybe he understood that and he didn't use the Slamtown line. I don't know, but anyway, I was disappointed. I wanted somebody to go to Slamtown. This week, but he didn't say it. He didn't say the line. And Petey Williams. They think why Petey Williams seems to be the odd man out here. Petey Williams, X Division wrestler. Recent weeks, he's lost the match to Eli Drake when he had a shot at the title. He lost few weeks back to Trevor Lee. He lost, there was the X Division 5-way match at Bound for Glory, which he was unsuccessful at. So you wonder why he's thrust into the main event picture here. And the only reason why is, actually, let me put it this way. If Petey Williams wasn't Canadian, would he be in the main event picture right now? The answer probably is no. But because he's Canadian, they're in Ottawa, so he's in the main event picture, and he's getting that little push there. Same thing with Mahabali Shera when they went to India. Mahabali Shera, my opinion, not the greatest wrestler in the world, but they're in India. He's from India, so he gets the push when they're in India. So that's the same thing here with Petey Williams. He's getting a little bit of a push. I was sick to my stomach here when this match began, because I'm thinking Petey Williams is going to get a pinfall victory over Eli Drake, and Eli Drake is going to look like a schmuck once again. So that's my opinion. That was my thinking here, that Petey Williams is going to go over on Eli Drake here and to get the win, to get a cheap pop. Thankfully, that did not happen. But the match was the main event was a very, very good main event. Very, very good main event. Lots of really good back and forth action. Chris Adonis actually took the loss for the team. Johnny Impact hit his Starship Pain. Now, Starship Pain, in my opinion, is one of the worst finishing moves in professional wrestling right now. Not taking anything away from the talent of Johnny Impact. Extremely talented wrestler, but when he does the Starship Pain, he barely hits the guy, and it just doesn't come across well, in my opinion. It looks impressive. It looks impressive the way he turns and flips, but he barely hits the guy, and so it's not really, in my opinion, the best finishing move. could be one of the worst finishing moves in professional wrestling, in my opinion. Even, and they made the mistake. They made the mistake, I think, 2 weeks ago or last week to show it in slow motion, and it was so obvious that he barely touched, I think it was Al Patron last week that they showed in slow motion. He barely touched Al Patron last week. So really, not the greatest, not the best finishing move in my opinion. But anyway, he hit it on, Chris Adonis, and he got the victory over Chris Adonis. Made sense that Chris Adonis took the loss. I'm glad it wasn't Eli Drake, because he's presented, as I mentioned about Trevor Lee earlier on, Eli Drake is presented as a weak champion as well. Bobby Lashley, on the flip side of that, when he was champion, he was presented, he came across as a very strong champion. Eli Drake comes across as a very weak champion, in my opinion, and it shouldn't be that way. Eli Drake is extremely talented, great talker, one of the best all around wrestler that Impact Wrestling has right now, and I wish he could come across. I wish they would book him as a strong champion, but he's being booked kind of as a weak champion. El Patron came out and he took out Eli Drake at the end of to close out the show, and of course that's going to be leading now to. I wonder if we're going to get a 4-way dance now between Patron, Drake, Petey Williams, and Johnny Impact for the Impact Global Championship. Could be leading to that way. Could be leading to that match. I don't know. Again, Petey Williams, my opinion, really shouldn't really be in the main event picture here. But again, he's Canadian. They're in Canada, so he's got to get the little push there. But that was it. That was it for Impact Wrestling this week. And I've gone over, I think, everything I want. Yeah, went over everything I wanted to talk about. And that's it. That'll be it for me this week. So I just want to say thank you very much, everybody, for joining me this week. And actually, one quick thing. Should have plugged it last week, and I'm sorry that I didn't. Interview now on the Tap That Wrestling Podcast Network. I interviewed indie wrestling power couple, Dale Kilburn and CC Gavalese. That interview right now is on the Tap That Wrestling Podcast Network. Great interview with the two. Check it out. TapThatWrestlingPodcast.com. Interview is there. Check it out. We had a good time with the two, and it was a great interview. I've got a number of great interviews coming up as well. If you read my Twitter, Covey Christ is coming up in a few days, so I'll be recording that with Atlantic Canada superstar Covey Christ. Looking forward to that, and we got a few more coming up as well. But until then, I just want to say thanks for joining me today on the Pro Wrestling Personified Podcast, the Impact Wrestling Edition. And until next time, I'm Lewis Carlin. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care, bye-bye, and stay safe, everybody.